Previously on Stay in Your Lane.
Andy, I think you've used a term in previous conversations where it's, technology isn't this monolithic beast anymore. But when you look at, if you're a 3PL or if you're a shipper, we often look at the soup to nuts process, right? It's like, well, I don't want to just go buy a freight audit solution and then go buy a routing guide solution. So it's like, well, I'm going to go build the entire kit and caboodle. You're at 5 years before anyone's ever going to be touched. And so I think a couple of pieces of advice from my end is be as unbiased as possible, which is really, really hard, is number one. Number two is look at really what's out there in the market and then think of your end customer and your end employee. When you build custom software, it is a heck of a lot harder to go find that skill set in the open market, right? And then three, you got to look at just overall time to value, right? If you take 5 years or 2 years building to what is current state, you've already lost 2 years in that time you're building it. These are things that companies have to, keep in mind as they go through this. And if you do decide to build or even buy, go back to like the use cases. What are we trying to solve? What does our business need now? What is a nice to have versus a must have? I think, Andy, I'm sure you and I could share war stories where you get these RFPs that are like 1,000 questions. And you look at it, it's like, gosh, if any one company could do all those, it'd be $100 million, right? Yeah. And you talk to the customer, it's like, who made this? They're like, oh, well, I cobbled together 5 different RFPs I got. And it's like, what of this do you need? Well, I need everything. And so, those are things where use cases, doing shadow visits, going to walk the process. Like, have you ever been in Lean Six Sigma? There's this whole Gemba walk, right, where you walk that process. Go see it firsthand, get the influencers involved, and make it a team project, right? That's the coolest part about these transformations. It's teamwork at the end of the day. So if you feel like you're us versus them, it's not going to work. Make it a team, make it a motivation, create opportunities for others to excel through this experience.
Yeah, I like 2 great points that you made. The time to value one, Glenn, that is such a key metric. And the other is trying to remove the politics out of that decision-making process. Just from some experience, the best avenue that I've seen deployed is a financial. Basically, that time to value, we have 3 years to realize this value. And then like the financial kind of the CFO angle where it's like, I'm not going to be using 2 different spreadsheets to manage this business's finances. So the finance group being kind of an avenue to get everybody on page, because I've seen some adoption happen just by the fact that the CFO is like, hey, I'm not going to do this twice. So you guys got to make one decision. So everybody get on the same page. And that leading an organization into the right direction and everybody kind of setting their egos aside. So there is some, I think, apolitical approaches to adoption, whether you're building or buying, that can lead to some successful outcomes.
Yeah, Andy, I agree, and I love hearing, when you break it down and you look at everything from the outside, right? You guys have been knee deep in this your careers at some level, and you've seen it from so many different perspectives. For me, I don't get to see it from the same side that you do. I see the internal struggles at times where that was so-and-so's project or idea, right? And there comes the political part. Well, I don't want anything to do with that, right? And when you're fighting those type of barriers, it's almost impossible to be successful no matter what software you buy because of the adoption problem. So when you look at it from both of your perspectives, and then, and I see it from mine, you say, well, now we should be able to collaborate and fix this, right? I think at the end of the day, you're still the X factor is always the people factor, and understanding who can be the most successful at the people, and the company understanding what software is the right one for what their needs are and their goals are on that, 2, 3, 5 year plan, those are going to be the successful ones. And I don't think AI fixes this one.
No, it doesn't. This is all personality.
Yeah, I mean, AI is not going to solve this. Glenn, do you see AI fixing this?
This problem will exist by the time I retire and my kids are in supply chain. So no, this will never be fixed by AI. This is, I would call it change management 101 and 201. So
yeah, I think it doesn't matter what industry we're talking about, transportation, supply chain, software, travel agent. Remember that one from our previous podcast? It doesn't matter. There's some things that are timeless. And what we realize is that no matter what the job is that we're doing, the hardest part's always the people. It's not the job. It's the people.
Yeah, if there's a piece of advice I've learned in these transformation projects, sometimes they're ugly, right? They're not always pretty, but take your next up and coming leader, right? One of the common things is you put your Swiss Army knife. So-and-so has been here forever. They know everything. They know every nook and cranny of our business. We're going to have them lead this project, right? And it's like, well, what about the next up and comer that could lead your company, in the next 10 years, 15 years? You learn so much as an individual, as a team, and about the company.
From going through this.
Yes. And all too often people say, well, they must check every box before they take on this project manager role or whatever the role may be. But, my challenge to the audience is put your next up and comer in a project like this and watch what happens to their career, right? Whether they stay with your company or not, they will take seat and you will be impressed and motivated to, inspire the next generation. And these projects really help give that opportunity to folks that historically may not have had that exposure.
Well, the Swiss Army knife is a great analogy. It's almost, I use the multi-tool analogy, where you go by the multi-tool and you realize real quick after using it, it does nothing well because it does everything. It's not suited or made or designed to do something well. It's made to do everything mediocre or poorly. So, to your point, you're bringing up the younger, the future value, and showing them an experience that will be a value for them eternally, and you're giving it to them early. You keep them, you get the reward from that, right?
Absolutely.
If they leave, I'm a people person, and I think that people only leave organizations for two reasons. There's only two. Either they weren't the right person for the job, meaning it was a bad hire, or you as an organization have mismanaged them. Not giving them the tools or giving them what they need for them to be successful, or the support or something. There's only two. So that's how I look at it. But that's a good way to hold yourself accountable to your people, though.
Absolutely.
Glenn, you have to let me know how things are going at Vector, or what we got to look forward to. Andy, as always, thank you for participating. Let us know how things are going at Movement. We want to have you guys back on again here in the near future. Until next time, stay in your lane.